Are you ready to get started on your first house design in the Elder Scrolls Online? Let me show you how to acquire the perfect furnishings to bring your vision to life. In today's video, I'll cover the source for every type of furnishing in the Elder Scrolls Online, along with tips on how to purchase, craft, or maybe even steal them. Welcome back, citizens of Tamriel. I'm Cal, and today I'm answering one of the most common questions about housing in the Elder Scrolls Online. Where do you actually get all of those furnishings from? In this video, I'll share details on the source for each type and category of furnishing in ESO to give you the tools that you'll need to source pieces for your next housing project. Of course, housing in ESO can serve as more than just a useful place to store gear or craft in peace. Your house can also be a canvas to express your creativity and for customization. But you're going to need some decorations to get started. Before we dive into the furnishing categories, though, I think it's worth talking about the 4 types of furnishings. In ESO, all furnishings fall into one of these 4 groups. We have traditional furnishings, collectible furnishings, special collectibles, and special furnishings. Now, traditional furnishings are by far the most common, and they're what you're probably expecting when you think of decorating a house. This category covers all of the mundane stuff like furniture, plants, lights, etc. Collectible furnishings are a type that is typically directly associated with an achievement or other unlock mechanism. These furnishings are unique as well, which means that you can't get duplicates, but you can place a copy in every house you own without having to collect multiple. These are things like trophies from dungeons, ESO Plus statues and paintings, and the zone collectibles as well. Now, special collectibles are all of your pets, mounts, assistants, and house guests, essentially all of the placeable NPCs. And those special collectibles are typically sourced from either meta achievements or the crown store. Finally, we have special furnishings, which are kind of just traditional furnishings with extra effects. I believe they're in their own group just because of the performance impact that they can have on housing. So like traditional furnishings, you can collect and display multiple of each, and these special furnishings are typically things like mists or fog or other items that have special visual effects. So that covers the 4 types of furnishings in ESO, but where exactly do they all come from? Let's start off by talking about craftable furnishings. So, one of the most common sources of housing furnishings in ESO is crafting. Crafted furnishings are unbound, and they remain so after you've placed them in your home. So, even if you're not a master craftsman, you should be able to find what you're looking for on guild traders throughout Tamriel. In addition, crafted furnishings can be resold if you decide to redecorate your home in the future. But at the time of recording, they cannot be salvaged for materials, so make sure to check the recipe before you use up all of your valuable crafting materials. In ESO, all crafting professions have related furnishing recipes, and crafting is the most common source for furniture and household items, as well as some of the structural furnishings. Crafting can get expensive though, not just because of the furnishings, but because of the plans which are found throughout Tamriel. The plans that you'll need to craft are typically looted at random from containers in the zone associated with the style of furnishing. Some are also on the drop tables for daily quest rewards, and the recipes for the most elaborate pieces are actually sold by the master writ vendors, Master Halalu and his assistant. Now, despite the fact that you can farm most of these recipes, the drop rates are actually quite low, and those drops are not curated, meaning that you could get a duplicate recipe. That means that the most efficient way to collect specific furnishing plans is actually to buy the ones you want from other players via a guild trader. But this also provides a pretty solid gold earning opportunity for intrepid players, as farming for specific recipes can be an exercise in frustration. So you'll find that there are many players out there happy to purchase them off of guild traders. This is also a good excuse to loot pretty much every container you stumble across, as you never know when you're going to pull a rare furnishing recipe. Now, unless your goal is to collect them all, it may be worth consulting Tamriel Trade Center or another add-on before you burn a recipe, just in case you'd actually prefer to sell it for gold instead of adding it to your library. Now, if you're on the hunt for a specific crafted furnishing, I would actually recommend considering whether you actually need the recipe or if instead you could just purchase 1 or 2 of that particular furnishing for your design. You'll often find that the recipe is more expensive than the furnishings themselves, and that's even before you consider the cost of the materials to craft more. If you only need a couple of furnishings for your design plan, I will typically recommend buying those furnishings directly off of guild traders rather than the recipe itself. You'll end up saving yourself some gold in the long run. And if you're out there farming for recipes yourself, you'll definitely want to make sure that you've got homemaker slotted so that you have a chance at pulling a second recipe anytime you get one to drop. Before we move on to another category though, I did want to break it down a little bit by crafting profession. Right now, there's a little over 900 woodworking blueprints, which are typically for wooden items like tables and chairs, shelving, and even wooden platforms, walls, and fences. There are over 500 blacksmithing diagrams, which are used for metal decorations like pots and pans, as well as many lighting sources. There are also about 500 clothing patterns, which cover all of your cloth, leather, and woven items like tapestries, bedding, curtains, baskets, and carpets. Jewelry crafting currently offers the smallest number of furnishings, but those sketches allow you to craft things like ornate drinkware, jewelry boxes, mirrors, and incense holders. Alchemy is actually used for many lighting options, as well as some of the more esoteric crafted furnishings like fabricant trees and lucent crystals. It's really all sort of the weird stuff. Enchanting covers most of the furnishings made of stone, like granite tables, stone carvings, of course pottery, and finally, provisioning covers all of the decorative food items, and anything made from wax, like candles. So, for example, if you want to try and build a house from scratch using structural furnishings, you'll probably be crafting mostly woodworking blueprints along with a little bit of enchanting. On the other hand, if you want to decorate a dining room, you'll be mostly relying on blacksmithing and provisioning recipes. It's important to keep in mind that crafted furnishings typically require a number of furnishing specific materials as well as style materials, which is what quickly escalates the cost to craft. If you're just starting out, you can collect furnishing plans by looting containers throughout the world. As I mentioned earlier, most furnishing plans are associated with a specific zone. So, for example, the Solitude style of furniture drops in Western Skyrim, while the New Colovian style drops in the West Wheel. And then there are some furnishings that are not associated with a specific zone, and you can pull those from just about any container throughout Tamriel. Now, if crafting all of your own furnishing sounds like a lot of work, there are plenty of furnishing vendors across Tamriel offering a total of about 700 different decorations. These vendors are often marked on the map with a chair icon, although not always. Known as home goods vendors, these NPCs are actually found in every zone and sell a wide array of conservatory furnishings. These are typically items that you might use to decorate your garden or courtyard, like bushes, shrubs, rocks, and trees. They also have a handful of other items, but you'll mostly be visiting the home goods vendors for your gardening needs. Also, be aware that while some items are offered at multiple home goods vendors, nearly every zone has at least a few furnishings that are only available at that home goods vendor in that zone. These are typically furnishings like a new tree or rock that is native to that area of Tamriel. So if you love the snowy trees in Western Skyrim, for example, you'll want to pay a visit to the home goods vendor in Solitude. Much like crafted furnishings, these furnishings from the home goods vendor also remain unbound, so they can be purchased and resold. If you don't currently have access to a particular part of Tamriel, but you do want to get your hands on some of those home goods furnishings, you can always check the guild traders for those specific pieces, as other players may be trying to resell them. In addition to the home goods vendors, there are also achievement vendors throughout Tamriel, which offer furnishings for gold. These are typically special items that are tied to in-game achievements. So you'll need to unlock the achievement that's associated with the item and then go visit the achievement vendor and spend gold to buy copies of that furnishing. These furnishings are often a version of an item that was part of that zone's story or side quests, and you'll find one of these achievement vendors in pretty much every zone that sells the furnishings associated with that zone's achievements. You might want to swing by the Undaunted Enclaves to talk to the Quartermaster. In addition to supplies that you might need in a dungeon, the Quartermaster also sells dungeon-inspired furnishings that are unlocked after completing the associated dungeon on any difficulty. And finally, there are actually dozens of PvP-related furnishings that can be purchased with Alliance Points, or AP, in Cyrodiil that require you to have reached a certain PvP rank to purchase. On the topic of furnishings you can purchase with gold, there is a luxury vendor in ESO. The luxury vendor is a weekend-only NPC who sells unique, high-end pieces with a rotating inventory. The ESO luxury vendor appears every weekend in Cold Harbor and Craglorn to sell a variety of rare furniture items. These run the gamut from exotic shrubbery to massive windmills, and they can be quite expensive. This vendor, named Zenil Theron, can be found in Cold Harbor's Hollow City and Belkarth's Festival Grounds from Friday around 8 p.m. Eastern Time until Monday morning. Unlike achievement furnishings, these luxury items can be resold. Much like the crafted furnishings and stuff you can find on the home goods vendors, these luxury items can be resold as well. So if you miss out on a piece that you want, you can typically find it on guild traders at a small markup. Zenil's inventory of about 560 items completes a full cycle every 56 weeks, at least at the time of recording. They have added new weeks in the past, so you can always wait for the item that you want to come back in stock. In addition to that rotating inventory though, He also adds a new item, or occasionally items, to the weekly offering every time he sets up shop. So it's always worth stopping by on the weekend to see what he has on offer as his inventory continues to grow. One of the categories of furnishings that I love to collect are the rare drops or semi-rare drops. So there is actually a wide range of furnishings that can be acquired through harvesting, daily quest rewards, looting treasure chests, and thieving. In some zones, like Vardenfell, harvesting certain gathering nodes will actually give you a chance to find a furnishing in addition to crafting materials. In the case of Vardenfell, that's one of the many plants that are native to that part of Tamriel. And while Vardenfell is one of the most common places to find furnishings while harvesting, there are other furnishings acquired via harvesting, like other sticks and plants. Fishing is also another source that can sometimes turn up decorative fish or other marine life that you can use to decorate your home. More recently, daily quests like the Battlegrounds daily quests or the Tales of Tribute daily quests have a chance to include furnishings in the reward crates you get when you turn in the daily quest. These include Battlegrounds themed items, as well as the Tales of Tribute tapestries. And if you're out exploring the world, be sure to open those treasure chests, as that is the source of most paintings. And of course, the paintings are associated with a specific zone, so if you're looking for paintings from a specific collection, make sure you're hunting for treasure chests in the right zone. Pickpocketing is another common way to find furnishings. You'll often find things that would fit in a pocket, of course, like small mirrors, hairbrushes, or cutlery. And sometimes these stolen items come from specific types of NPCs, so it's always helpful to look up exactly where you can find the NPCs that you need to pickpocket to have a chance at getting some of these rarer furnishings. The good news here is that most of these items can be resold. So once again, there's no need to farm them for yourself if you have the gold to pay for them on Guild Traders. Now, at the top of the video, I mentioned collectible furnishings. These are the ones that you get for free by completing content throughout the Elder Scrolls Online. The most common collectible furnishings are the Undaunted busts and trophies. You get the Undaunted trophies for clearing arenas, dungeons, and trials on normal difficulty, while you can acquire the Undaunted bust for clearing that same content on veteran difficulty. These furnishings, along with the other collectible furnishings, are added to your collectibles menu rather than your inventory. They can be placed in every home you own, but you cannot place multiple copies within the same home. In addition to those Undaunted trophies and busts, this is where you'll find the collectible furnishings unlocked via quests, rank rewards, or fragment collections as well. Many zones have a collection mechanic where the reward is actually one of those collectible furnishings. If you can return all of the museum pieces, lost scraps, magical instruments, or other collectible items that you'll find scattered across the zone. These collections pieces are typically decorative, often interactive, and are directly related to the zone's storyline or maybe the new mechanic. ESO has an event almost every month of the year, and many of those events actually offer more than just the traditional rewards. They are also occasionally a great source of furnishings. So while several offer a furnishing or two, the Witches' Festival in particular is good for new housing enthusiasts, as it offers a wide variety of both witch and vampire themed furnishings from plunder skulls and occasionally from harvesting as well. There's also a small collection of furnishings that would otherwise be exclusive to the Crown Store but are actually included with certain homes. While every version of those homes includes the furnishing, if you happen to purchase that home with gold, the furnishing is actually unbound and can be traded or sold if you want. Last year I covered this topic in depth if you're interested in learning more about it. But this is actually a way to acquire some things like fire logs or rare halalu pieces without having to spend crowns on them. Of course, I know many players out there can't bear to separate these unique pieces from the houses they came from, but there might be someone else out there who's looking to subsidize the cost of housing by reselling those furnishings. So you can always check the Guild Traders if you need an extra set of fire logs. Now, I've personally purchased homes that I don't intend to decorate just so I can loot those included furnishings for my main house. I almost forgot about Antiquities. If you have access to scrying, then you'll be finding leads throughout the world, many of which lead to furnishings for your housing in ESO. And once you've unlocked every entry in the codex for that furnishing, you can actually buy additional copies from the achievement vendor in that zone. The Antiquities system is another great way to get your hands on some really cool furnishings throughout Tamriel. Finally, we come to ESO Plus and the Crown Store. So for ESO Plus subscribers, you can expect a unique monthly furnishing to collect. These are free and included with the sub, but they will need to be claimed from the Crown Store. Quite often, these have been miniature statues, but in recent years, we've also seen an uptick in paintings. So subscribing is an easy way to get your hands on a very unique collectible each and every month. Beyond the free furnishings that you get with ESO Plus, there are furnishings sold via the Crown Store. This includes a number of items that are only available via the Crown Store, like Mundu stones, and some of the special visual effects furnishings, but the Crown Store will also offer furnishing packs and a number of crafted furnishings for direct purchase. In general, I do recommend saving your crowns for more important purchases, but occasionally there is a unique furnishing too good to pass up, or one that offers some utility that can't be gotten elsewhere, like the Ethereal Well or Vampiric Libations. Now, while I would personally love to break it down piece by piece, furnishing by furnishing, I don't think that would make for a particularly great YouTube video. But I also don't want to leave you hanging just talking about categories. So luckily, there is actually an amazing ESO add-on that I've talked about before that allows you to browse the full list of furnishings in-game. It lists the source, keeps track of which of your characters can craft it, and lists the ingredients required to craft for the crafted furnishings. And that add-on is Furnishing Catalog. It is one of my personal favorite add-ons, and I strongly recommend adding it to your collection if you're planning on spending any time designing homes in the Elder Scrolls Online. Of course, if you're one of the players out there who can't play with add-ons, or you just need to preview items before you purchase them, there's a couple of options available to you. If that item happens to be in the Crown Store, you can actually preview it in your house before you buy it. But for those items that aren't in the Crown Store, I recommend paying a visit to the unofficial Elder Scrolls Wiki, where you'll find information and screenshots of just about every furnishing available in the game. I'll have a link to that unofficial wiki in the description below. So there you have it, a quick overview of every source for home furnishings in the Elder Scrolls Online. So whether you're crafting, farming, or splurging at the luxury vendor, ESO offers a wide variety of opportunities to collect interesting decor for your next housing project. And the majority of those items are unbound. So if you've got gold to spare and you're short on time, you can often find what you're looking for on Guild Traders. If you've enjoyed this video, I would encourage you to like, subscribe, and share any of your own furnishing collection tips in the comments below. I'd also like to thank my patrons who got an early ad-free look at this video over on Patreon. If for some reason you'd like to join them and get your name in the credits of the next video, be sure to click that link on screen now and check it out. I'd like to thank you all for watching, and with that, happy decorating. I'll see you all again real soon. Bye for now, everybody.